Hello everyone! During our adventures across the Dragon Isles, we've come across a couple of characters, a couple of stories that didn't immediately finish. This gives us the option to check in on them later, part of the achievement called All Sides of the Story. So say that you want to experience these stories all by yourself, I would recommend following this achievement. The first one has no real waiting time at all, as it's given to us upon arriving on the Waking Shores. Captain Garrick and Warlord Grimaxe, they're Alliance and Horde characters that guided you through your Exile's Reach adventure. It's that special intro island that's made for alts, which you can pick instead of the regular starting zone. On the Alliance, you help Captain Garrick with saving their son, whereas for the Horde, you help Warlord Grimaxe with saving their daughter. Both of them have now continued their adventures all the way into the Dragon Isles with their children at their side. The older generation is teaching them that these hatreds of old, the faction war, it's not a thing at the moment. We're not here to bash each other's heads in. Captain Garrick has fought alongside many honorable Horde in his Scourge invasions, Warlord Grimaxe included, and Brekka believes that it's good to broaden one's skills, since not every problem can be solved with an axe. Times have certainly changed. Now if you finish this on the Alliance side, then you're asked to tell Captain Garrick that the first round is on Brekka, to which the daughter asks, will be sharing a table with the humans? Of course. How do you expect to share a battlefield if you can't share a meal? And she hadn't thought of it that way. Do it for the Horde, and Captain Garrick will be the one buying first drinks once they're both off of their shifts. You would drink with an orc? Her son asks, and they sure would. They sure have. And tonight, so will he. We'll probably go back to the faction wars at some point, but it's nice to see that they recognize that the factions have stood shoulder to shoulder on the battlefield. It's not uncommon for friendships to evolve beyond the faction lines, as it was amongst dragons. Once upon a time, not uncommon for them to mix and mingle beyond their own flights. Veritistrasz told us about this, as they explained what it felt like to return home to a land that they'd given up on ever seeing again. They also added nuance and depth to the time in which the corruption of the old gods it took hold of the black dragonflights. You only know Neltharion as Deathwing, and his brood as mad evil beings. We knew them before they fell. This wasn't some unknown menace. This wasn't some great evil looming like the Legion was. These were our friends, our loved ones. It was awful, not knowing what's going on. Thinking there was something you could do to snap them out of it. They were my friends, and they were killing my brothers and sisters. I had many friends in the Black Dragonflight, some as close as clutchmates. Growing up, we used to play pranks on the elders. I remember one time we coated Alexstrasza's tail in honey while she slept, and... what does it matter? My best friend was of the Black Dragonflight. We intermingled a lot back in those days. Not like now, where most flights keep to themselves. Isn't it funny? I can't remember her name. I can't remember her face. I can remember how the light bounced off her beautiful scales, but I can't remember her name. I can remember the horror when I came home to find her standing over the bodies of my family, practically her family. I can remember the gut-wrenching despair as I plunged my claw into her throat, and I remember the hate in her eyes as the light went out in them. But I can't remember her name. I always wondered, if I had been a better friend, could I have prevented it? Did she not feel like she could come to me as she felt the corruption starting? Abyssian was cleansed. The black dragon that was cleansed by Haln with the hammer of Kaskarov. There must have been something I could have done. But she didn't come to me. Must have felt she couldn't talk to me about it. If I had been a better friend. If I had told her... Oh, Titans. If I had told her how I felt. Could it have gone differently? I loved her. And I can't remember her name. Their memories might be failing them, but underneath the Obsidian Citadel, we can find an odd book, a partially destroyed diary, written from the viewpoint of a young black dragon woman before their corruption. Skimming through the first part, a name stands out to us, Veritistrasz. What is this? A diary? Why are you giving me... Oh. Her name... Her name would Distia. Oh, Titans. Ha. Look here. She writes about that time that we filled Malagos' lair with baby hornswogs. He hated that. Oh, Oh, this is incredible. Thank you. Thank you. I overheard some of the others talking about Rephion, the Besian, and Sibelian arriving on the Isles. Maybe I can help them. Maybe I can make this Styria proud of me. Thank you, young one. You give me something I thought lost long ago. You have given me hope. Who will become the new ruler of the Black Dragonflight is still up for debate, but at least our Red Dragon friend remembers her name once more. The corruption of the old gods, it caused a lot of death and destruction. Some of the darkest chapters in dragon history, they were caused by Deathwing's manipulations, like the time that Alexstrasza was enslaved at the hands of the Dragonmaw orcs. With no other choice, these dragons of life were turned into agents of death, carrying the orcs into the battle against the Alliance. Well, the queen would eventually be rescued, and the heart of the aspect would forgive those responsible. Some of them, they have a harder time to forgive themselves, like the old orc Duroz Skilltaker, who has journeyed to the Isles with Kolgar Flameguard at his side. He needed to see it with his own eyes. He needed to see that they hadn't destroyed everything. While it's been many years since he was part of the Dragonmaw, and old age is finally catching up with him, the guild has not left him, even for a day. Despite living within the internment camps, despite standing up against Garrosh, Zela, and Sylvanas, there's nothing that he could do to regain his honor. Have you ever stood knee-deep in dragon blood? He has, while breaking whelplings younger than the one that curls up and begins to sleep near his leg. When Alexstrasza refused to obey their commands, they smashed her axe in front of her, smeared the yoke of her unborn children upon her face. There's no price high enough that he could pay. Not even execution. Guild is a long, empty road, and he will drag himself along it, hands and knees, until he grinds himself into the gravel. Execution would have been a mercy. Save mercy for the ones who've earned it, he says. Despite his history, though, the Red Dragonflight values all life, even when it wanes. They make a potion for him to help with the pain, free of charge, as his old eyes gaze upon the ruby life pools. This is how it should have been. How all of them should have lived, free, unshackled, and untainted. The old orc's time is running out, and the last few days he spends right here at the pools, Ruby whelpling at his side. The next time we come across them, we see that time has finally claimed Duroz in his sleep. The Ruby whelpling is still sleeping on his side. Kolgar doesn't know what to do now, but Baforus helps him keep a memento. A vessel filled with a portion of the power that infuses all living things. We borrow it for the time, and then it is no longer ours, yet it does remain. Duroz would not have believed that he deserved this kindness from dragons, but one cannot deserve dignity. It is the right of all life. We left Kolgar and the whelpling behind as the Isles called out for our aid. At the inn he stayed, where it feels like it's been years, but also feels like it's been minutes. They could use someone to talk with, if we have the time. After grabbing ourselves a round of drinks, free of charge as Vacheron, they become quite a bit worried about the orc. Is glad to see him some company. The orc begins to talk. You know, Duroz didn't want me to come. He was afraid to be holding me here captive. Sorry, can you grab a pack over there? Dying here wasn't peace for him. He knew what he was doing. Always knew how to hurt himself worse than anyone else could.
Speak, friend. May your blades never dull.
I started to wonder if I should have felt the same. The Blackrock clan added our share of bones to the Path of Glory. What was the difference? My axe over there is too, if you could. Are you going on an adventure? Thank you, Draylen. Howdy, Kim. Hello. The day he died was the first day he touched this whelp. I've seen an orc stare down 100 Vindicators with less fear than that. Like he was afraid the stain inside of him would spill out.
Loktar.
Here's your axe.
Be safe.
They'd say he died a coward. But I don't know cowards who could do that. Maybe he did hold me captive in the end. I don't think I could go back anymore. One last drink, shall we, Twin Mama? One last drink. Thank you, Noble. You didn't have to help, but you did. So did the dragons. Now I just want to take my friends on a very long walk.
What do you need?
I know I owe you more than a drink, but I hope this will do for now.
Strength.
It's time to go.
For the Horde.
The red elfling nudges Kolgar's arm and looks pleadingly up at him. Kolgar sighs. Come on then. I can't stop you. Aww. Again, these slices of life story are so nice. So very nice. And often I find myself more interested by these B plot lines than the main storyline. They've done a phenomenal job this time around. Makes the world feel alive. Like there's more happening than just, oh, world ending Razaketh threat. No. There's also these storylines that remind you that the world of Warcraft is vast. One day in the future, I would love to look up into the sky and see Kolgar riding on the back of the now ruby whelpling, living their lives to the fullest, in freedom, as it always should have been. Now finally, there is Tarshin the Blind, a Jardin who loves to share tales of their people, as long as we prove ourselves worthy and bring them skulls of slain dragons. This is something unlocked on a weekly basis, and at this point in time, I'm still trying to unlock it. So instead, I want to hop over to a different achievement. There's one with the Centaur, in which we can honor their ancestors. And as we do, as we get the buff, as we see their spirits and bring them gifts, we can also read a little bit more about Centaur history, learn a little bit more about their people. So these ancestors of the Centaur, the spirits of the past, they can be found scattered across the plains, starting with Veritistrasz the Carver. After giving them a hoard of meat, and all of these have their own individual items that they want in order to complete the achievements. As a reward for the achievement, you get a Hearthstone, and if you want to know what NPCs want what items and what locations they're at, check the description, I'll link the achievement there. So after getting their gift, they mention, after Terra Marifra established the relationship between our people, we decided to represent that bond in a physical form. I was the finest hornsmith at the time, crafting hunting horns of all sizes and tones for each centaur. I must admit that this horn was quite unusual, but the wood the dragons provided from their groves worked beautifully in my hands. Together, we built a horn that represented both of our cultures, and we used it to call the dragons in times of trouble. The Hardy Unyielding is a famous centaur archer of Clan Terai and a companion to Zegzaya, the first daughter of Terra, Terra being the co-founder of their clan. Terra's first daughter faced many hardships. Our people faltered when Terra passed from us. They needed someone to step up who could revitalize them. I knew Zegzaya had the capability from the start. I said she led with a full quiver, heart, strength and compassion, but her strength was to fire them all at once, to win the Maruk over. She laughed, but I named my bow in her honor. I used it to show her that you could fire many arrows at once with precision. We did not leave her side until the day I died. Farexen Khan, that was the last Khan of the Togus Centaur. The Togus clan used to be one of the big ones until the rise of Clan Nokut and all the trouble that followed. Clan Togus were trainers of great beasts and an extremely resourceful people. The raw materials we gathered were highly desired by crafters from the other clans, and our animals helped us in many endeavors. We were not fighters. I thought that our prestige would protect us from Shakan's ambitions, but I was a fool. No clan holds power forever. I only hoped my people that still live have settled into their new lives. Jaka Khan, that is the father of Balakar Khan, and the one who led his clan to rise up in power until his son took him out during a hunting trip. Nazun and I had no daughters, but we raised Balakar as best we could. He was never one to listen long enough to understand. I mistook his undermining nature for ambition to lead. I thought that by keeping him close, I could teach him to lead with respect and dignity. Instead, it led to my downfall, as well as that of my clan. Ymir the Blessed, a hero amongst the Centaur, as during their founding days, they were challenged by the land's native fire, water, and earth elementals. Ymir confronted them with the element of wind, which the Centaur had been blessed by through Onara, and forced them to accept the Centaur's presence within the plains. The elements are tumultuous, their desires fickle, none so much as the wind. She who changes direction as a drop in a puddle, but is also she who lifts us up. We do not need the wings of the Ohuna to fly alongside her. Marik Dotur, the late sister of Kanamamatra Sarest, the current Kanamatra of the Centaur. It's good to see my sister Sarest leading the Centaur with such dignity. She was quite a troublemaker when we were children. Ask her about the time she accidentally let a raft of Otoks loose in Tirakai. Mukur Swishat is the mother of Scout Tumul, the first centaur we talked to entering the Onarn Plains. I watched my daughter Tumul grow as the reeds of the river. She is a good hunter, yes, but it is her eyes that make her stand out. She's become an excellent scout, one that our Khan calls on in times of need. She does like you, you know. She's never been the most skilled at making and maintaining friends. She's never wanted to seem too eager. Own Kano-sung? Since Onara blessed us, there have always been those who felt her connection. Tira and Maruk themselves felt her pull, guiding them to our home here in the plains. It was only a matter of time before that gift spread amongst our people. In my life, we pledged to come together, to learn more about the Sky Mother's call, together. Shikari Khan, a previous leader of the clan Shikar. I witnessed these primalists ambush my clan, descending on their proto-drakes from seemingly nowhere. Shikar hunters spread across the plains as they follow their quarry, rotating between our seasonal hunting camps as their beast migrates. They waited for the Kural to attack. When our numbers here were at their weakest, they will face the wrath of the Shikar. And then finally, there's the massive spirit of the Bakar Talis. Talis nudges our hand with her head, urging us to scratch behind her ears. We've only seen one other Bakar of this size in our time on the plains. She reminds us oh so much of Teyvan, which they should, as these are Teyvan's parents, the bestest boy that you could find across all of the Onarn plains. And that's what I wanted to share with you today, and I've honestly been loving these little slice of life storylines. It's an interesting way of expanding the storyline, and a reminder that even though we deal with big threats like Razaketh and the Primalists, at the same time, the world doesn't stand still either. I would love to see more of this in the future. But for now, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos. Leave a like if you enjoyed this one. And until next time, see ya!